I will check that. I will check that out. I do a bit of discussing Christ with people of other faiths and atheists. However, I do get stuck when slavery is brought up against me. My question is, why is the term slavery used in the Old Testament when we know that they were actually employees?
So that's a good question, and maybe this is one actually we should answer a little bit later, like next week. We can if you want us to do a bit more research, but there on some level, like in the fourth commandment, where we talk about like anybody within your household. I'd say it's good to read that as including employees, but really, I think truth is there is slavery during the Bible times. The Israelites were slaves, and God did have a system where he permitted slavery to continue with them. But if we read it carefully, we see God is providing for protection of slaves. And again, by our modern standards, some of it shocks our conscience. But Bible scholars, when they look at the world around the Israelites at that time and the customs, the culture, the way things were, the laws of Moses were extremely radical for their day because they introduced a whole lot of rights and protections for slaves, for women, for orphans and widows, and all these. Like, God really did a lot to move things forward to we would call liberal today, to protect their rights and preserve them and give them more. He did not abolish slavery, but what we see is God is progressive in his revelation, progressive in setting the bar and raising it higher and higher and higher. So like we talked about a little bit earlier, Old Testament, we have thou shalt not commit adultery. But we go to the New Testament, Jesus raises the bar again. He says, now don't even look lustfully at a woman. And we have a video, for example, where people say, well, what about tithing? We don't see tithing in the New Testament. And that's right, because in the New Testament, Jesus again raises the bar. And he says, I want you to I want you to give me your whole life. Pick up your cross and follow me. We need to give Christ everything. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. So things are progressing. And then eventually, again, in New Testament, we get to the point where now Jesus is fully all about, okay, now I want you guys to be much more talking about freedom. I have come to set people free. And of course, he's talking about freedom from sin, freedom from deceptions. But the Christian church starts now doing a lot to start abolishing abolishing slavery. But it's incremental. Again, Paul, when he's going to the churches in Greece and Rome and these areas, he's not trying to be too radical so that the world and governments around them are going to hate Christianity just because they're causing such radical economic change. So he has the whole book of Philemon is about a slave who had run away from the slave master, and Paul basically tries to broker things and make it so that the slave will be welcomed back. And he even offers, hey, I'm willing to pay whatever's needed to make things right. So Christianity becomes more about if you're a slave, if you're a servant, if you are, basically you're not free to go about doing what you just want to do, but you're obligated to follow somebody. You then must take the opportunity to at least witness to your master. So be the slave that will, through your obedience, through your love to them, they might have a change of heart, come to Christ, and now you'll be better off as a slave of a Christian, and maybe he'll even let you free. So that's the approach. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Notice to say, oh, that would be great. Thank you.